People say I'm lucky. I don't know why.
This just in. Nimsh makes leprechauns cry.
ESGN TV's daily news. Just watch.
Welcome back to Fight Night.
All right, so game number 4 between Artosis and Chakki. It's going to be a druid versus a paladin. Now, what's interesting is that this druid has very select choices. We'll talk about it in just a second as we get ready for the game. But druid, how familiar is Chakki with it?
I know that he played it a ton in the second test season. It's one of the decks that he, played through the whole, second half of that test season. It's something that, we're pretty familiar with as a team, Druid and Shaman, especially our, classes and decks that basically everyone's playing. And, they're really strong. They're really consistent. He's pulling it out here and seeing if it can pick him up a win.
All right, so let's go into game number 4 and see if Artosis can come back, or will Chakki close it out? Game number 4, the Wombo combo, Force of Nature, Savage Roar, but don't really need that till later on, if he needs it at all. Now, one thing that's very peculiar is that I'm seeing an incorporation of a Boulder Fist Ogre in this Druid deck. What is that all about?
We're looking at the deck list right here. We actually see that the deck list is titled Game Ogre, and obviously named after the Boulder Fist Ogre in the deck. It seems to be in the place of what would usually be something more like a Sylvanas or maybe a Cairn in most Druid decks. Favoring, in this case, the bigger body over, the double life.
And that is just because you want more power on the minion? And just because, specifically you like ogres? I mean, you have Yetis already. The neutral big bodies are really great.
In a lot of circumstances, having a lot of life is equivalent to having a second, copy of the card. Twilight Drake a lot of times, trades for 2 smaller cards. Cairn obviously is in a similar position. People call him a 4/10 sometimes, and it's just really massive for the cost.
All right, so Artosis and Chakki have already had their first couple of turns. Chakki ends up dropping a Sun Fury Protector, and it's often nice because Paladin likes to reinforce and pass, so you want to be able to at least start hemorrhaging away at those, or hammering away rather, at those minions.
Yeah, it's sort of an early game investment, so that if he wants to play something else, he doesn't have to spend any mana using his hero power to clear out the hero powers of his opponent. It also, puts a little bit of early pressure. And speaking of early pressure, Chakki definitely has a lot of options this turn, seeing as he has an Innervate in hand and just drew Druid of the Claw.
That's right. And you can drop a 4/6 with Taunt, making it very difficult for Artosis to deal with that early on. At turn 3, well, he can't do much, but he does have answers in his hand.
Yeah, and Artosis actually draws Twilight Drake. He can decide to advance his board, or, he can start to, just keep chipping away with his hero power. He's seeing right now how much life that Twilight Drake is going to be, just how difficult it's going to be to deal with, and I think he might go for it.
I don't really see an alternative play otherwise. If you drop anything else, if you drop Sun Fury, you're just it's just going to die immediately. So the 4/7 Twilight is out, but the answer's already sitting in the hand of Chakki as well. He has a Keeper of the Grove and a Spellbreaker, a card that you don't see too often, but it is starting to make a little bit of a comeback sometimes. I see it in a few decks here and there.
Yeah, it's certainly a card that I am used to running in Druid, at least when I'm using the version that has the Ancient Watchers. I mean, it sort of gives you an extra, possible way to turn on your Ancient Watchers, so to speak, besides just the Taunt Givers, and turn it into an aggressive early game threat.
Now, Artosis, again, in turn 4, he's kind of back to the same spot he was in previous turn, maybe even worse, because there's a more intimidating minion next to the Druid of the Claw. What can he really do here, Reels?
Yeah, at this point, Artosis just wants to make sure that the bleeding stops at some point. He already has Equality and Consecrate in hand, ready to go. He can clear out his opponent's entire board and start slamming some of his larger, minions. He's got Guardian of Kings and Tyrion, who can both, defend himself, gain back some life, but he needs to survive until then.
Yeah, so how?
It's a good question. He's thinking about just bashing in with True Silver Champion right here. He might just equip it. He might just, play his hero power and pass. Looks like he does equip the champion. He doesn't want to attack, though. He's going to try to keep his life total as high as possible.
And I think that's a very smart play here for smart Artosis, just because there's nothing else he can do. Chakki ends up drawing a swipe, doesn't really need it for now. Does he play the Ancient Watcher as well, or does he save that?
I think that he feels like he's the aggressor, so he does play the Ancient Watcher. He can if his opponent again does nothing, he can turn it on next turn and bash in for even more damage. He has to imagine that there's at least the possibility of equality at some point. But, maybe he's just hoping that his opponent just doesn't have it. He maybe even figures that if he had Wild Pyro inequality, that his opponent would have done it last turn. Certainly he's going to find out that he doesn't have Wild Pyro inequality this turn, because, Artosis would pull the trigger for sure. As it stands, he may even consider doing something now that he sees how much damage is possibly in play. If his opponent has another silence, it's really going to be a lot of damage to take, and maybe even too much to come back from.
Absolutely, you're for sure. But either way, this turn he might have to take damage if he wants to clear something like even the Druid of the Claw. And this is just the power of Innervate. If we just rewind a couple of turns, I know Artosis was even telling me personally he just thinks Innervate sometimes just feels silly to play against, just because you're so far behind if you have no answer to the early game tempo plays.
Yeah, usually, casting it on turn 4, True Silver Champion is a slam dunk 2-for-1. Even pick up a couple extra health sometimes depending on, what minions you're bashing into. In this case, the 4/6 taunt is out of range of the sword. He didn't have anything else in play already to combine it with to take down the bear, and it's just staring at him, and he's still not sure what he wants to do to try to deal with it.
And there is cool follow plays for Chakki as well. He has a Keeper of the Grove. He can silence his Ancient Watcher and basically put another Yeti on the board and continue pressure. And this is always setting up for what could be a potential big combo in the later stage of the game. Artosis is going to instead just try to do what he can and set up as many lines of defenses. He knows Big Game Hunter is not really that useful against the Druid class because they stopped running a lot of those big hit creatures. What do you think about this play?
I think it's really interesting. He definitely has, he draws another Innervate, which may or may not open up additional possibilities this turn. He, almost for sure wants to get Artosis really as low as possible, as soon as possible, before he can start slamming some of his bigger cards. I'm not sure how he's going to decide to, deal with the taunt and how he wants to deal as much damage as possible.
Oh, I was trying to think. We were trying to think about all these possibilities, and I was wondering how much damage he can put on the board. But yeah, he can pretty much clear the board if he wanted to swipe and use hero power. He can also activate the Ancient Watcher. He could use the Keeper of the Grove to attack and combo it with Wrath and maybe clear it that way. And it seems like
it looks like he is going to use the Wrath, and he chose to do 1 damage and draw a card, which means almost for sure he's going to use the Innervate so that he can use his hero power. He might just swipe to the face, though, but that means that he can't use the Keeper of the Grove this turn to silence his Watcher and turn it into an attacker. Next turn we know that Artosis is going to, almost no matter what, equality away the board with Consecration. And, the swipe will already be gone. The swipe can deal damage next turn or this turn. The Ancient Watcher can only deal damage this turn. Definitely, if, he wants to try to finish the game, he's going to want to use his hero power to, finish off the Big Game Hunter and, use the Keeper to activate his Ancient Watcher. And that way he can use the swipe next turn to close out the game.
He still has to kind of be careful as well, because he knows his opponent does have things like Molten Giants as well. And if he puts him down at a really low life, Artosis could bring down the Molten Giant and board clear.
Yeah, and he does decide to silence the Ancient Watcher. And, interestingly enough, he decided to use, the Wrath for 1 damage. And, if he had used it for 3 damage, he would be able to hero power his opponent right now, which would put him, down to 4 life instead of 5.
And then swipe.
And, he has swipe in hand, so he's really a favorite to win this game right now. If his opponent did have a Molten Giant and a way to give it taunt, his hero power would not be able to attack.
Yes.
But of course, the equality combo goes off. He bashes in, but he gains life off of the True Silver Champion, which might be enough. He can also attack. He's still got his Sun Fury. His guys survive. Consecrate. It's a little bit better than Wild Pyro in that sense.
He does also have ways to gain life in the following turns with Guardian of Kings and Lay on Hands. The situation was very, very, very desperate for Artosis, and it comes down to just 1 mana, actually. He couldn't be able to finish it off.
Yeah, you know, he just swipes in. He wants to deal as much damage as he possibly can. He has a Harvest Golem, which is great because it's a creature that's almost for sure going to survive. The only play here for Artosis is Guardian of Kings.
No.
Picks him up back up to 9.
But what's interesting is he shouldn't actually attack this Harvest Golem.
No, if he attacks the Harvest Golem, it's actually going to
loses.
end the game for him. He attacks the Harvest Golem. If he had gone up to 11 life, he would have been able to survive, but his opponent has the Force of Nature, and that is going to be enough to finish the game exactly with the hero power.
That's right. So Force of Nature and the combo. Artosis fought as hard as he could, but it wasn't enough. Chakki ties up the series overall 2-2 and sends it to the ace match tie for both teams.
The ace match is going to be coming up, and it's going to determine the winner. Chakki bringing it home for Team Managrind, keeping it even. The ace match tomorrow is going to be interesting.
You know, Rios, I want to kind of do a little bit of reflection here. And, you know, obviously you're very, very talented and one of the best players on Managrind. What do you think, in your professional opinion, a couple of the things Artosis could have done differently?
You know, obviously, you know, we just saw the end of that game. And I think that actually, you know, the Paladin control deck was a great choice to play. It performed really well. And, you know, one of the downfalls of the Paladin control deck is, although it is a control deck, it's one where you don't really have always a lot of options. Sometimes you get stuck with these hands and these large mana cards where you only have one choice that you can possibly make a turn. Artosis really needed some, you know, early game, you know, things to help shut down his opponent. And all he had was
to shut down
all he had was a quality Consecrate, the God combo, not enough.
So Artosis does end up falling, but it's okay, because like you said, it sends it to the 5th match. Let's take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll hear from the players themselves.
Stay tuned for more Fight Night.
Fight Night is awesome, and for winners.
When I'm not fapping to top decking and wrecking, I'm watching Fight Night.
Welcome back to Fight Night.
I'm pretty disappointed in it. Like the first couple games, I think he got basically the best draws that he possibly could, and there wasn't much I could do, but I played well. But that last game, I really should have attacked him with the True Sylve, and I think if I did, I actually would have won that game and done fine in the next maybe, but I attacked the Golem instead, and he had like exact lethal, so. Well, I mean, he's a good player, obviously, but all he does is like go for face nonstop, attack, 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 and you know, I slipped up and made like, I think just about one misplay throughout the whole series and ended up losing it. So, you know, I'm disappointed in that, but he played well. You know, I'm excited for the ace match, I guess. Mostly just disappointed in myself right now, but you know, DogeHouse definitely knows how to work together as a team, and I think that we can definitely take it home still. Shout out to DogeHouse, greatest Hearthstone players in the world.
Hi, I'm here with some of the members of Managrind, and Chakki just defeated Artosis with a score of 3-1.
Yep.
That last game was especially interesting, especially that last turn. What did you think about it?
It was meant to be. It's like Chakki. If it isn't top deck, it isn't Chakki. So he was going to win on top deck eventually, no matter what.
So you would say that Chakki is the Gnimsh of Team Managrind.
Definitely.
Now we're going to go to the ace match after this. Did you expect it to go to the ace match first of all?
Yeah, we kind of expected it. To be honest, we have preparations for all decks as well, so we don't feel down in any way for ace match.
How do you think you guys are going to do?
We're gonna win.
Of course.
Of course. It's a big question.
Anything you have to add, Forsen?
No, we're gonna win. Yep.
Just gonna win. All right, now we're gonna toss it over to Throwdown with an interview with our winner.
Hey guys, I'm joined by Chakki at the desk, who just won his series against Artosis. First series, first win. How do you feel?
Feel pretty good.
Great. I mean, I would imagine someone feels great after that win too. So let's walk through the games a little bit. You know, you started off with the Rogue. What was the rationale behind starting with it?
I figured he would probably start with his Warlock deck, which was Murlocs, which I figured beforehand. And I think my Rogue deck has a really nice matchup against that, so I went ahead and went off with it.
Yeah, how'd you know that he would play Murlocs? Artosis is known like a control player, and he likes to play.
We've got some scouting going on.
Oh. Okay, well, I didn't tell you anything, so.
You did not tell
Okay, good. I was just making sure I didn't let you any information. So, Chakki, there was this one instance where, I think it was game 3, where you had the opportunity to maybe eviscerate with an Azure Drake and maybe have set up for a potential lethal. What was going on through your mind? Because you spent a lot of time thinking about that turn.
At the end of the day, I think I made a mistake, and I should have done the Spell Power Eviscerate at that time. There were a few reasons why I should. Yeah, just a mistake, so.
Yeah, I mean, we all make mistakes, and Artosis obviously made the final one that ended up costing the series. But overall, it seems like Managrind has done pretty well. You've tied it up and sent it to the last match, which is going to be a 4vs4 team format. DogeHouse hasn't lost a match yet playing it. Do you guys feel like you have good synergy and you're able to take on DogeHouse next?
Yeah, I'd just like to say we have not lost an ace match either, so I think we'll be fine.
I like you, man. You can stay. We're done here at Fight Night for episode 4. You heard it from Chakki. They feel like they can win too in the ace match. We'll see you tomorrow night, where me and Crip will be guiding you through what's going on. See you guys tomorrow.